Welcome to our third base in the cycle of duplication. Here is where we will get a positive decision from our prospect to join us in Freedom Equity Group. After your initial exposure and three-way call with the upline, you can normally determine the level of interest of your prospect has regarding the opportunity. If it's not really apparent, feel free to ask the following question directly. Alice, after seeing and hearing all the information that you have regarding FEG, we find that people generally fall into two categories, and the first being they're in need of a tax-free retirement solution. Or secondly, knowing how many of their friends would be in the same boat that they are, they'd like to take advantage of the opportunity to build a business with FEG. So, would you say you have more of an interest in just your own retirement or the business or both? Notice, I didn't ask an open-ended question such as, well, what do you think? Or, what do you want to do? So let's see what we would do in every instance. First, you'll find some people that will say they have no interest in either. You know what? This is okay. They're saying no to either the retirement program or the opportunity, but not to you. Maybe they just don't understand the power of what you have shown them. Yet they're not telling you that. In either case, you want to thank them for their time and ask them if they would be all right if you update them from time to time on what's going on with the company. By getting this permission, you can send them an email or some form of update, maybe a testimonial or whatever on an ongoing basis. You want to do this because people's situations change. And as theirs changes, they may be more open to what you have to offer, and you want to be in the forefront of their mind when this happens. People who say they just have an interest in their own retirement program, that's great. Start with the needs analysis and do what is right for your client. Now, if your prospect is interested in both their own retirement solution as well as the opportunity, here is your opportunity to get them registered with the company right away, and you'll be moving on to home plate and getting your new business associate started right, which will include setting up their own retirement program. But in real life, what is going to happen during the belief building process is that many questions or objections are going to come up, and obtaining a positive decision, such as the ones discussed, will be the result of how you answer these questions or objections. You see, the best thing you could have after a presentation or belief building step is an objection by your prospect. This means that they have been listening and they're interested. Otherwise, they would sort of thanks and leave. Your best agents are those that are the most skeptical, because once a skeptic cannot find drawbacks in the FEG opportunity, they must join and be successful. We're going to go into specific objections that you'll be getting. We know it because everyone gets them. Each and every one of them can be turned into a positive if you know how to handle them. The first thing you should learn is the opening line to every objection, which includes feel, felt, found. This means that whatever the objection is, you compliment the prospect and then identify with their question. Here is the initial line to every objection. Mr. Jones, it's a great question. I know how you feel. I actually felt that way myself, and then I found out, etc., etc. You go into the answer to the objection. So let's go over a couple of objections here, and then I recommend you continue with this part of getting a positive decision in our lesson entitled Answering Objections. Here I go over all of the common questions that you'll be asked. Let's take this objection. Look, I really don't have the time to put into this. Answer, Bob, I know how you feel. I felt the same way myself. And then I found out that the time commitment was variable, up to me, and that I was able to leverage my time through others. I knew that I had only a few hours a week to put into my business, but as others joined me, each of them had a few hours a week. So I might only put in a few hours myself, but 5 or 10 people putting in a few hours. I had 20 or 30 hours a week going into my business, and I was only responsible for a few of them. Another answer could be, Bob, I know how you feel. I felt the same way myself, and then I found out that I could leverage my time through my upline. I introduced my sponsor to some people who looked at my website, and they were able to help in the follow-up, even sometimes without me. So my business was being built even though I was working on my normal occupation at the time. Do you have the ability to have people leverage your career even when you're not there now? Another objection is, I don't know if I could do this type of business. This is a great one and is really answered with what you did already to expose the business to your prospect. Bob, what is great about our business model is that the people that have been involved before you will not prosper unless they lend their time and their talents to you and help you prosper. They could only succeed if we succeed. Take, for example, how you learned about this business. Remember, I just invited you to take a look at a live webinar from the comfort of your home. Notice that I did not explain this business to you. Our system and tools did that for me. And remember, when I called you up to see what you liked best about the presentation, you had questions. Remember? I didn't answer your questions. I put you on the phone with Susan, and she answered your questions. All I did was introduce you to Susan, and then I shut up. Do you think you could introduce people to Susan and then shut up? It really can be that easy to do this business. Although we have just given a couple of examples, I highly recommend that you go into our lesson in the Academy on answering objections. This is part of third base on the cycle of duplication. One important thing to remember with all objections is that in most cases, the first objection is a smokescreen. It's not the real reason why someone is hesitating to join you in our business. So as time goes on, in the belief building and obtaining a positive decision stages, one of the trial questions you could be asking your prospect is, Bob, with what you've seen so far, do you see any reason why you would not want to get started right away? At this time, Bob will probably bring up an objection or question. Before answering that objection or question, you might want to ask him, well, great question, Bob, and I want to get to that with you, but tell me, besides whatever it was he said, is there anything else that would prevent you from getting started right away? If he brings up another question, again, you're trying to isolate the objection. So you might say, Bob, those are both great points, and let's get into those and get those cleared up. But before we do, is there anything else that might prevent you from getting started right away? Once you have all of the objections or questions on the table, you can now go through each of them one at a time. After each one, make sure you have satisfied the question and then go on to the next one. Once you have all the objections satisfied, there's no longer a need to ask if they're ready to move forward because you've already said that you've taken care of any reason that they might not want to move forward right away. So it's okay for you to assume that Bob wants to move forward right now. Therefore, you should bring out an application and ask a question such as, Bob, in what names would you like the company to make your checks payable to? Or, Bob, would you like both you and Susan's name on the application? Or some sort of easy question like that when answered positively, you know it's okay to move forward and get your new business associate registered with the company, and then move on to getting them started on the right foot, which is our next lesson, home plate in the cycle of duplication. We'll see you there.